Hey everyone! How are we doing? We surviving the heat coming into August. Tell you what, last night I was out on my porch about 9 o'clock and it was actually dark out, and a breeze came in off the mountain and I could smell fall. You could feel it too. It was a cool breeze, you know, down to like the 60-degree range. And that might not sound cold to some, but when you live somewhere where it's like 105 on a regular basis in the summertime, 60 degrees, 65 degrees it's pretty chilly. So now usually when I'm making a tincture video, I'm telling you to go watch the other video that I've made about meeting up with this plant ally in the wild. But I did not have my camera on me when I came across this medicine, and in fact I was just, you know, like autopilot working along and like almost had made the tincture before I remembered I needed to make a video. So so today I'm going to show you how to make an Usnea tincture. In the future I will introduce you to her in the wild because she's not hard to find at all, and you're definitely smart enough to find her. So let's talk about Usnea for a minute. So she's not really a plant ally in the regards that she's not really a plant. What she really is, and a lot of this you'll see it hanging off of conifer type trees. Some people do confuse Spanish moss for Usnea. This is not a moss. You might call it old man's beard, bird nest moss, all kind of stuff. But it's actually a symbiotic relationship between a fungus, between an algae and a yeast. So, and we just discovered the yeast thing, I think, last year. But it's pretty cool, really. Let me find you a good example. So this is where she's attached to the tree. And you see how there's like thicker strands right here? And if you've ever encountered Usnea, you know, like up towards the base, like this is tough. I still broke it, but it's tough. And then you get down into these tiny little like fluffier stuff, right? So this, the harder stuff that connects to the tree, so it's hanging from a tree, is the fungus, and this is the algae. And then well, and also like the roots of the fungus go down it and the algae forms around it, and then there's yeast all in it. And she is awesome medicine. She's great for colds, flus, but where she really shines is staph and strep issues. So you got like a staph infection going on internally or externally, she's amazing. If you've got strep throat, amazing. She's just fantastic medicine for that. Some people say they like to make a tea for, like, you know, if you've got strep throat or any type of like, just stab myself with my own finger, any type of like just really nasty like throat thing going on. But I'll tell you right now, it's gonna taste like shit. You are probably not going to willfully drink enough of this for it to be of much help. So I really suggest making a tincture. Now, tinctures are easy. You've watched all my other videos. You're like, wow, that is so easy. I can do this. This lady is just as easy, but there are a few more steps that we're going to have to talk about. So, when I am making an Usnea tincture, I will make sure that I'm using her fresh, just like any other plant. However, what you're going to notice is that she automatically feels dry. But believe me when I say she's alive and thriving. Actually, here's a perfect example. Look at this. See how she's growing on to this stick? That's how you're going to find her, in nice long tufts. And did you know that Usnea cannot grow in environments where the air is dirty? Like she'll try to, so, but if you go up here, like look at all this whole bowl full. This was just off of one tree, and it barely even dented. This whole tree was like cocooned with it. And just what's really neat is that, you know, if there's a lot of this in the mountains that you're around, your air quality is fantastic. And so anyhow, I would just remove off of the stick, and then I like to take out, there's a darker little bit of moss that likes to grow with her. There's not much in this, but you can see this darker stuff. We only want to be using the green portions. We don't want those different mosses in there. But I'm going to remove any like stick debris, anything like that. It won't kill you, but you know, it's just best to just be working with what we're trying to work with. So what I've done, prior to remembering I needed to make a video, is I just took those tufts and I cut them up a little. You can still see that they're pretty good sizes still. It's still pretty intact. Do not pulverize this. I see so many videos and suggestions where they want you to put it into like a fucking coffee grinder or something, and that is just gonna powder it up, and it just, I feel like it's pretty disrespectful to the plant. Listen, plants and alcohol have been doing this dance for longer than we know, and they know what they're doing. And I also think that it's important that we learn to be patient for medicines to take the time they make instead of trying to make them take quicker, because you know, an instant gratification society has not done us any favors, has it? So you're going to take your Usnea and you're going to make sure you have a jar you can fill up, and that's the same with alcohol. Make sure this is a jar that you can fill all the way up for the most part with your herb, and all the way up for the most part with your alcohol. So you're going to put your chopped up Usnea into your jar. Now, as usual, I use 100 proof vodka, and that is because she is 50% alcohol, 50% water. So not only will we be getting the alcohol soluble properties of the fungus and the algae and whatever plant you're working with or mushroom you're working with, you're also going to get the water soluble properties, and that's super important. It's kind of like, think of it this way, you know how, and you might not know this, and you definitely have some Googling to do, how sometimes, most of the times, taking supplements like vitamins is dangerous, because your body, to process that vitamin, needs to make sure it has levels of all these other vitamins in it, right? So like it needs to be this whole well-rounded thing. And so like if you get your nutrition, your vitamins from eating a bunch of really well-cooked vegetables, your body can access it and assimilate it better. And that's the same thing with making sure that we have not only the alcohol soluble properties, but the water soluble properties. That way we're getting a whole well-rounded, easily utilizable by our body plant medicine. And honestly, if you are going to have a reaction to a tincture from a safe, simple plant ally, it's going to most likely be when you start using grain alcohol. And when I say grain alcohol, I don't mean alcohol that's made out of grain. I mean anything that's above 100 proof. You start getting into the 190 range, the 160, anything 100 proof, there's no alcohol left, or there's no water, excuse me, there's no water left in your alcohol. And then you're just getting the only alcohol soluble properties, which makes it fall into a stronger area. And you're like, well, isn't stronger better? No, because with plant medicine, we're trying to make this whole and balanced. You start getting into the stronger, you start looking for pharmaceutical reactions, and you start having pharmaceutical type reactions. And that's really not a good thing, because really what it's doing is it's only capable of extracting the most volatile properties of a plant, and it can actually degrade a lot of the medicinal properties, because you know that's like 200 proof alcohol. It can rip your guts apart. It's poisonous. It's illegal in many states. So get 100 proof vodka. That's it. Plus, once we dump this over here, woo, that was exciting. A little messy. Once we dump this over here, we know that our tincture is automatically balanced, meaning there's no complicated math. It is so funny to me, people who use grain alcohol. They use grain alcohol, and then 90% of the time they have to do all this math when they're done making it to get it back to, guess what, 50-50. And that to me is just moot point. Like, you're just doing all this extra work and making things a bit more dangerous for yourself. Of course I didn't grab another bottle of vodka, because you don't want to wait the 6 to 8 weeks, and you want to be done in a week or two. I think I have a little bit right there that would do the job. So when you're making a tincture, and make sure you're using fresh plant matter, make sure you fill to the top of your jar, because you don't want oxidation to occur. Oxidation just means there's oxygen left in your jar. And then it kind of makes your tincture go like super dark brown, and some plants are meant to go that dark, but it's just not great. Kind of like when you peel a banana or you take a bite of an apple and then it starts turning brown on you. That's the same thing that's going on here. It's not the end of the world, but it does affect the quality a little bit, makes it a little less potent, might make it look kind of funky, and I get more and more people messaging me being like, what happened to my tincture? Why did it turn like this? It was such a pretty color and then it turned this color. I'm like, well, oxygen. Oxygen got in there. And so you're going to fill it up all the way, and then you're going to put a cap on. All right. That is that if we were working with just any other plant ally. But since this is technically a fungus, which means a mushroom, it means that if we want to get all of her properties, we need to have heat involved. It's not going to be as complicated as it sounds. You are definitely smart enough to do this. So normally people will tell you to sit this in a cool, dark place for 6 to 8 weeks, but I'm going to tell you a little bit of a trick. I want you to sit this in a warm, dark place for 6 to 8 weeks. And then when you're done, you can use it as is at that point, because we are wanting to use the heat to extract this. But I think you're smart enough to do the next step that I can't show you right now because she's not ready to go. So at the end of your 6 to 8 weeks, when you've had this sitting in a warm, dark place, or even a cool, dark place, it's fine if you can't achieve the warm, dark place. A seed heating mat works great for that. I want you to strain out your tincture, meaning you're going to remove the alcohol from the plant matter from the alcohol, whichever way I'm supposed to say that. And then you're going to take your plant matter, and I want you to put it in a pot. A pot, your spaghetti pot. You've probably got a spaghetti pot, something you can boil water down in. And if you have, for instance, if this is a cup, or this is a quart, and that means there's 4 cups of water, I want you to add 2 cups of liquid, of water to your pot with the strained out Usnea in it. Okay? And then I want you to put it on a simmer. You know, where you bring it to a boil and then you turn it down to low so it just kind of slowly simmers away. And I want you to eyeball it and boil off about half the water. And I want you to eyeball it and add back about half the water. You could measure to make sure that it boiled down all the way to 1 cup, and then make sure that you exactly add 1 cup back to it. But you know, if you really thrive on that kind of stuff, you can, but there's no reason to torture yourself. Just eyeball it. You're like, oh, I've boiled about half the water away. I'm going to add about half the water back, and I'm going to do it again. I want you to do that at least 3 times. So fill it, simmer it, fill it, simmer it, fill it, simmer it. And then once you get back to that last simmer, that last 1 cup, you now have a decoction. So it's just like really strong tea. So like you're really getting all this stuff to extract, and you're boiling again and again. It's almost like you're making a syrup in the regard of how strong you're trying to get it. You're trying to concentrate it. And then you're going to take that singular 1 cup of liquid to your 4 cups of 100 proof vodka. You're going to dump that into that. And you're going to give it a shake. And you now have what is called a double decoction. I will absolutely make like a whole video about this, so you're not like, oh my god. But some people are able to just follow along in that regard. But if you need to wait for a video to come out to feel confident about it, that's okay too. And so it's just really, really simple. And then once you do that, you not only have all the water soluble properties and all the alcohol soluble properties, you have all of the heat soluble properties, because these are all different parts of plant allies, and it's very specific for fungus. Like pretty much if you are making any type of mushroom tincture, I don't care if it's chaga, turkey tail, or reishi, whatever you're working with that is a fungus in nature, if you are not using a hot water heat extraction method, you are missing a huge chunk of healing that's available from that particular fungi ally. Say that 10 times fast, fungi ally. My mind had a problem with it. But so that might sound a little bit more intimidating, but really it is just a matter of sticking some Usnea in a jar, pouring some 100 proof vodka of it, taking the plant matter out of the alcohol when 6 to 8 weeks is up, throwing it in a pot that you can handle boiling water with, throwing a couple cups of water in there and boiling it. Boiling it, adding water, boiling it, adding water, boiling it, adding water. I am absolutely positive that you are fully capable of handling that. You are. And the reason why, and just to throw a little bit more stuff out there, the reason why you want to make sure it's like only 1 cup to 4 cups of 100 proof vodka is we need to keep this above 25% alcohol content. Meaning 1 cup of 100 proof vodka is only a half a cup of alcohol. Get it? The way that would work, it's like 50% alcohol, 50% water, so 1 cup would be split down the middle like that. So that's why you wouldn't want to add more than 1 cup per 4 cups. So that is a little bit of math, but it's not hard math. And if you stick to quarts and pints and things that are measured by 4, it's really easy, because you just got to remember that a quarter, so 1 section of those 4 cups, needs to remain a full cup's worth of alcohol. So, again, I will make a full-on how to make a decoction video. It might not be about Usnea in particular, but it's the same principle across the board. You can even do this with non-fungi allies. I love to do it with elderberry tincture. I love to do it with anything that is thicker and root related and maybe has like a little tougher of a cellular structure. Do it with yarrow and you'll knock your socks off with how strong that decoction will be. Again, and if you make a decoction, it's not going to go bad as long as you make sure that you're sticking to the 1 cup of water per 4 cups of 100 proof vodka. It's not going to go bad on you, because as long as it's 25% alcohol by volume, it'll stay good forever. Alcohol doesn't go bad. So the next thing we're going to do is make a label. So I make these labels out of just some Avery shipping labels that you can buy at like Wally World or wherever. You usually can get, I don't know, there's usually like 10 or 15 sheets per pack, and that could last you a really long time if you're not making super amounts of tinctures. And on here I have things like, I mark off that it's a tincture, I mark off that it's wildcrafted, I mark off the date that it began, I write the date in, I write what it is. I write what alcohol I use, which is almost always 100 proof vodka. If I wildcrafted it, I write where I got it from. And then I'm just going to stick this right on the jar. That way if I am making a lot, I don't forget about what it is. You know, like you get busy and you're like, oh my gosh, and it's been like a year or 2 and I don't know what I made. What are you? Well, now you'll know that it's Usnea tincture made in 100 proof vodka. You'll know that you started it in August, and you'll know that you got it where you got it from. And another reason I like to write where I got what plant I gathered from, other than the fact that I have to create like, I have like a batch number thing I have to do, and you know, an inventory and bring it on and make sure that what I'm working with is safe. But also, maybe this Usnea tincture helped me a little bit better than the other Usnea tincture. Maybe this Usnea was a little bit happier than the other stuff, and so this one really helped me get rid of my staph infection down below, or it really helped heal up my strep throat more than the other one did. You know, and they all are the same plant, but environment and area and all kinds of things, even the time of year, can affect how these plants are reacting in our body and helping us. So just pay attention to that kind of stuff. You do not have to get this fancy. You can achieve the same thing with a piece of masking tape. Put a piece of masking tape on there that says the date, where you got it from. You can even write on there when you're going to decant it, which is just fancy talk for strain, and you're good to go. So I am now going to sit this in a dark, warm place with my infusing oils on top of a seed heating mat, because I'm going to kind of just get the ball rolling with heating, with extraction. And now, this doesn't always happen, but most of the time when you've made an Usnea tincture well and there's heat involved, it turns into almost like an orange color. So if you've got this somewhere and you start, you know, and you've got it like on a seed heating mat, or maybe on top of your fridge covered up dark because it's always warm on top of fridges, or on top of your water heater, somewhere where like the ambient base temperature is like 70, 72 degrees, it's going to start turning a little bit of an orange on you. The only time I see that not happen usually is if they're using like dried Usnea, and you think that you can't tell the difference, but just a rule of thumb is if you harvest it, get it tinctured that day. I harvested this morning, and I got right in here when we were done and made a tincture because I know she's alive and vibrant and still thriving. Now the rest of this I will allow to dry, which won't take more than like by tomorrow when I put it in my curing cabinet, and you can watch a video on here all about curing herbs versus drying them. But and then I will use that for oil infusions and putting in salves, because again, she's fantastic for using externally for staph. I'm talking, I know people who have like conquered like MRSA. I'm talking nasty stuff you pick up from the hospital where other stuff wasn't working, and they have used Usnea with amazing results to get to combat these horrible staph infections. So I use her personally. When I get stressed out, I get a staph infection down below. And it's nothing to do with how clean I am or anything like that. You know, women get staph infections down there. It's just a symptom of stress for me. So other than nourishing my body and calming myself down, I reach for my Usnea tincture, and usually within a day or two of using her consistently, you know, like a half dropper full, like, you know, 2 or 3 times a day, and making sure that I'm, you know, drinking water and doing other things, I usually get rid of that staph infection versus having to go to the doctor and take some pretty nasty and strong antibiotics, which just leads to things like MRSA. You know, so we can definitely take our health back into our hands, and you are definitely smart enough to do this, okay? You are smart enough. You are smart enough to understand what I've said here. You are smart enough to go out and identify Usnea. You are smart enough to make a tincture, and you're definitely smart enough to make a double decoction. So if you like my videos, if you like my efforts to like put out this safe, simple information, if you like meeting plants in the wild, if you just like listening to me talk and ramble about things, make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. Not only does that help you see when I upload stuff, it helps other people find me, because YouTube's like, hey, enough people are subscribing to her and liking her videos, you know, and like turning on notifications that maybe she's worth showing as suggested content to other people. The same thing goes for, of course, liking and commenting. That helps people see me. It also helps me feel like I'm being seen. Not that we should self-gratify self or like validate self, that's a better word, through how many likes and comments we get, but it does help us feel like we're not just talking into the void, doesn't it? And that's okay too. So interact with me. Let me know you're here. Let me know that I'm being seen. Let me know that my effort is being appreciated, because I really appreciate that, and it helps keep me going. Also, when you like and comment, it does the same thing. I think I already said that, but it helps people find me. And speaking of find me, if you're not following me on Instagram yet, come over there and find me. I have a huge account where I'm pretty much posting 6 days a week. I take 1 day off because, you know, I'm a human. And I'm not just talking about herbs over there. I'm talking about all kinds of stuff. So you can find that in my website and all these other ways to come and interact with me just as a human to a human, by following the links in my bio here on YouTube. So thanks for listening to me ramble, and I will see you next time, okay? Bye.